Hey, what's going on? I'm back in my zone. It's the God of vibration, my vibe crazy. Hey, what's going on? I'm back in my zone. It's the God of vibration, my vibe crazy. Hey, what's happening, man? Welcome to another episode of Culture and Consciousness, your source of independent media. I am the God of vibration, and we got a lot to talk about today. Let's do it. All right, so check this out. The Guardian released an article last week stating that the U.S. is averaging one chemical accident every 2 days. This is after the EPA released some numbers to them stating that over the past 10 years, they are averaging 235 emergency response actions every year. In my opinion, this is just everybody's way to minimize what happened in East Palestine. As to say, oh, no big deal. This is normal. This happens all the time. Nothing special about this accident. We see this every other day. Come on, man. Get serious.
Come on, man. What are we talking about? Come on, man. 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 How many push-ups you want to do here, pal? Oh, come on, man. Why the hell would I take a test? Come on, man. Come on, man. Come on, man. What is he doing? Come on, man. Give me a little break here. But everybody knows who this guy is. Come on, man. Come on. Come on, man. Get a life.
Come on, man. The Ukrainian President Zelensky, who's a puppet for the World Economic Forum, has agreed to welcome China's peace plan to end Russia's invasion of Ukraine. But he said he would only welcome it if it involved the removal of all Russian troops from Ukrainian soil. So those are his terms. He stated that he wants to believe that Beijing is interested in a fair peace, which meant not supplying Russia with weapons. So if you ask me, that's probably the real motivation behind him wanting to play nice with China for now. He's trying to make sure that China doesn't align itself with Russia enough to start openly supplying Russia with weapons. If you ask me, they're probably already underhandedly supplying Russia with weapons. You can see that China's starting to align itself more and more with Russia. But at least for now, they're not openly supplying weapons. And I think they're probably trying to, make sure that doesn't happen. But check this out. The Western leaders are being catty. They're skeptical about the proposal. And they argue that Beijing does not have the international credibility to act as a mediator. What the hell does that mean? The international credibility. What type of credibility do you need to have? And what makes them feel like they're more credible? The U.S., from what I see and what I know, is that they're always the aggressor, not the mediator. So that's very interesting. That's an interesting stance to take. And Joe Biden said on Friday night that the idea of China negotiating the outcome of the war was just not rational. So that's just more proof. That's just more evidence that they're not interested in ending this war. If they really wanted to resolve this conflict, they will be open to hearing everybody's ideas. They will be open to anybody who feel like they had a solution. They will be open and willing to hear it, to entertain it. Zelensky, odd guy, right? So this guy was a celebrity actor and a comedian. And all of a sudden he pops up and he's the president of Ukraine. How does that happen? If you ask me, he's probably still acting, right? So the reason why they probably selected him for that role is because they felt like he could act well enough to rally everybody behind him for support, to rally everybody behind Ukraine, to get everybody's, emotionally stirred up enough to want to support this war with Russia. So yeah, man, it's just weird. The actor comedian guy is now the wartime president, and he's flying over begging everybody for money. Boy, sit your ass down. There was a big protest in Berlin, Germany, where the citizens are calling for their government to stop supplying Ukraine with weapons. They're saying that they're only prolonging the war, and they don't want the war to be prolonged. You got to understand, Germany has been one of the countries that have been impacted the most by this conflict. So remember, when they put the sanctions on Russia fuel, the pipelines, the Nord Stream pipelines were sending fuel straight from Russia to Germany. And once their energy prices started skyrocketing, the citizens were saying, hey, we don't want nothing to do with this. Just give us the fuel. Next thing you know, the pipelines start blowing up. Boom, boom, boom. Took that option away. But they're probably just ready to go back to living their best life. And their government is just prolonging the whole conflict, you know? So they're like, who agreed with this? And that's what the demonstrators were saying, that they were unified by the fact that they do not feel represented by the government's decision to provide Ukraine with weapons. Same way we feel. I just stated this. Who agreed to this, right? These people are supposed to be acting on our behalf. And they're just doing stuff that none of us want them to be doing. So how are we allowing them to get away with this? We all pussy, man. There was a former soldier who was holding up this banner that said, the real enemy sits in the city of London and New York. And you know what he's saying? He's saying that the only people who benefit from this war is the military industrial complex. Same thing I've been saying. You have a very few small group of people who are benefiting from this conflict, and they have no interest in it ending. They want it to go on, right? The longer it goes on, the more money they make. Then everybody knows, right? From here to Europe, we all know the same thing, yet we are allowing it to happen. We're all some pussies. Israel, or the so-called Jews, are continuing to exterminate the Palestinians. I say this after 9 Palestinians are dead after an Israeli army launch in a daytime raid on the West Bank. That's Gaza Strip. And they're saying they did this because there were 6 rockets fired from Gaza Strip to their area, 5 of which were intercepted by their air defense systems, and the other one fell in an open area. Yeah, find it interesting. The first article that they released on this said nothing about the rockets fired from Gaza Strip. And then they released another article saying, oh yeah, this is why we did this, you know. There's been a long history of cruel and unfair treatment towards the Palestinians by the Israelis, but we all just sit back and watch it because, hey, these are the Jews, you know, that we're talking about after all, right? So, you know, Jill Biden had her ass in Kenya last week talking to women about birth control and using a condom and safe sex. When I saw this article, I'm like, yo, don't be coming over to Africa with that shit. You know what I'm saying? Take that somewhere else. Because, yo, to me, it's like, we know, you know, Europeans have a negative birth rate. So now you trying to come talk to the Africans, making sure y'all need to stop having all these babies because we can't keep up. You know what I'm saying? So, no, we don't need that type of energy coming from you, Jill. Take that shit somewhere. Go to Australia or go to Europe and talk to them folks about safe sex and using the condoms and your eugenics birth control. You feel me? Then she was talking to them on some other feminist type shit too. You know, it was like women's empowerment type stuff. Look, don't bring that toxic shit over to Africa, to the African continent. They already believe everything y'all say to them. So I can't believe they be allowing shit like this to go on over there. I bet y'all didn't know that U.S. Special Forces killed 11 people in Somalia last week, do you? Yeah, they ain't say nothing about that. They got everybody distracted on this war and this over here. Meanwhile, they be doing all kind of shit, man. You know what I'm saying? So they killed a senior Islamic State group official and 10 other terrorist operatives in remote northern Somalia. This is why people say what they say about the U.S. and how they, you know, in terms of foreign relations and foreign policies and being warmongering. Mind your business is what everybody's saying. Like, why are y'all over in Somalia doing shit like this? They didn't come to the group and tell everybody about it or talk, you know, discuss it amongst the people and say, hey, you know, we might want to take care of this situation because it's getting out of hand. No, they just did it. They just be doing shit. And guess why they say they did it? Oh, we're protecting everybody against terrorists. We're protecting the world against terrorism. They can always throw that blanket over whatever they want to do to justify their behaviors and their actions. They can always throw that over it. We're protecting against terrorism. Well, guess what? We don't believe you. We don't buy it. Mind your business. Get out from over in Somalia, whatever y'all doing over there. Leave that shit alone. You got shit like this going on and don't nobody know nothing about it. Yeah, that's how they rock. Kevin Hart's comedy tour stop in Cairo was canceled after he made some Afrocentric comments. He pretty much was saying something about black people need to be taught about when they were kings and queens in Egypt. And I'm confused because the Egyptians didn't like that, but what's the confusion about? Like, what are we even questioning? This is Queen Ty. This is the mother of Akhenaten and the grandmother of King Tut. What questions do we have about that? You know, when you go inside of the pyramids and the tombs and the temples and you see the way that these people depicted themselves on the wall, like all the depictions are there. See, the thing about Egypt is it is one of the most, not one, it is the most preserved ancient civilization ever to exist. So there doesn't have to be a lot of questions and curiosity. You can just go in there and look. And these people obviously depicted themselves as dark-skinned people. And that's congruent with everything else about their history. I mean, if you read their holy text, the Perkdem Haru, the book of coming forth by day and by night, erroneously called the book of the dead, they told you where they were from, which is Inner Africa. That civilization migrated down the Nile. The Nile flows from south to north. So that civilization started further south and migrated towards Kemet. You know, Egypt, we all know is a Greek term, was a term given to the land by the Greeks. Kemet, which is the name of that the indigenous people called the land, literally translates to the land of the blacks or land of the black faces. What are we confused about? This is ridiculous, man. It's like people can just recreate history and facts and reality to be whatever they want it to be. And as long as the right people say it, so shall it be. Yeah, man, I choose not to play those type of games. You know, let's tell it like it is. Let's keep it like it is. And we're going to put it in your face so that you know what it is. You feel me? I have a philosophical question for y'all. When is it justified to take another person's life? I ask this question because as I think about it and process it, you know, it's interesting to me. If I claim that I'm at war with another man and I go around the street and I kill this man, they're going to throw me in jail. They're going to say I'm a bad guy. But if a soldier claims that he's at war with another man and he goes out and kills the guy, nobody bats an eye. Nobody questions it. It's normal. I mean, you even have churches that don't even protest against war. You know, they don't even say anything about it. It's just like, thou shalt not kill does not apply in this situation. So are we then able to say that the government, the agency of the government determines when it's justifiable to take another person's life? Then we have to go a step further to say that the government determines morality when it comes to murder. And that's powerful. I don't know if many people think about it in those terms, but essentially that's what it is. The government determines morality when it comes to murder. I actually have an unpopular opinion about this, you know. I actually think it's pretty natural for us to commit murder against each other. Whenever you want to know if you're acting in alignment with the universe and in accordance with the universal laws, you always look at nature. That's the fail-proof way to determine. And typically you want to look at the dominant beasts in nature. So the lion, the bear, the alligator, what are they doing? And when you look at these animals, they kill each other sometimes. But I think the important thing is the why. Why do they battle each other and why do they commit murder? Why does this violence happen amongst them? And when you think about it, it's typically over territory. It's over territory, it's over the right to mate with a female, and it's over food. But most of those fall under territory. And when you compare that to what we do as people, when you look at war, most of the time we're warring over territory, right? even though the U.S. lied about their reason for being over the Middle East, essentially we all know that they're trying to gain more territory. So in essence, one perspective to see this is that the U.S. is behaving in accordance with nature. Also consider that since the dawn of civilization and the dawn of time, there have never been peoples that did not war with each other. As far back into history that you can go, there have always been wars and battles and fights and struggles over territory. When you look at the indigenous Americans, man, those tribes were battling like tough. You know what I'm saying? It was a lot of war and just very brutal battles amongst the tribes. Same thing in Africa. When you go to the ancient civilizations in Africa, lot of battles, right? A lot of war. So I don't think you can ever go back far enough to a time where there was not war amongst people. And then when you look at nature and you see that that also happens in nature, it sort of lines up. But I think going back to the why, there's a fine line between fighting over territory and greed. How much territory do you need? And so when you look at the animals in nature, is there ever a time where there's an animal who wants all the territory? He doesn't want any other bear or lion to have any territory. He wants it all for himself. Does that happen in nature? I don't think it does. So I think that's where the morality and the justifiable, where it's maybe not as justified, because you're doing it on a scale to where it becomes greed and not just a battle over territory where you want to make sure you can feed yourself better, or you want to expand your your ability to mate. I don't know. But glory is also included in that too, right? Glory, and there's some vanity in that as well. So when you look at the ancient African civilizations, a lot of them wanted to expand their territory for vain reasons. It wasn't that they needed the territory to survive. It was just about the glory of having an expansive empire. So the ego exists within the man, and it always has. And I think, again, this is a natural thing that is within us. My bad, my battery went dead as I was speaking, but as I was saying, I think this is more natural than we may think when it comes to one man committing murder on another. This is something that has always happened since the dawn of civilization. This is something that we also see in nature. And as much as we may hate when our countries go to war, or when they get in these conflicts, as much as it's a burden to us and a detriment to us, when you think about it in its most fundamental sense, it's not as unnatural as we may think. It may not be as far out of alignment with the universe as we may think. When a lion kills another lion, we don't say, oh, that's bad. We look at that as pretty natural, right? Same as with a bear. So what I'm saying is, we like to think as humans, we like to think that we're so much different from animals, but we are alike in a lot of ways. In our fundamental essence, we're probably more alike. We're alike in more ways than we're different. And a lot of the same things drive us. So when you look at these things occurring in nature, that would lead me to believe that this is something natural that happens. And even though we've gotten to a point as a civilization where we feel like we're beyond that, genetically in our DNA, that still is a part of who we are. You know what I'm saying? So it's just a different perspective, man. I just wanted to, like I said, this is very philosophical, but I just wanted to kind of dig into this because I thought it was very interesting. Yo, I'm gonna say this right here. Black people have to start listening to different types of music, stuff other than hip hop and R&B. We got to get outside of that. We got to expand our genre. And there's a lot of reasons why I say this, but one of the main ones is if you don't always want to be listening to all that rah-rah shit. Now y'all know I am hip hop. Yeah, I'm Mr. Hip Hop. But you don't always want to be listening to all that rah-rah. That shit puts you in an energetic field that is just aggressive and low vibrational in a lot of ways. You know what I'm saying? And you notice it when you start listening to other types of music, how much more light you feel, how much more peaceful you feel. You know what I'm saying? You can feel it on your spirit. So that's one reason. I don't think we need to be in that sort of tension all the time energetically when we're just riding around listening to that shit all day. But another reason is there are some talented artists out here outside of hip hop and R&B that are black people. When you get into a lot of these other genres, what you find is that there are a lot of other black people in those genres and they are talented. I'm talking about prodigy type shit where it's like, whoa, how does this even happen? Like really impressive shit. And when you start digging into these genres, you feel bad. I feel bad because I'm like, you have this talented black person that 90% of black people know nothing about, and they're one of the greatest at what they do. They are one of the greatest at what they do, and 90% of black people know absolutely nothing about them. That makes me feel bad because these people deserve our support just as much, if not more, than the rappers. Because they not actually making art that's detrimental to our communities. You know what I'm saying? A lot of these rappers are making art that's actually not serving us in a positive way. So when you get people like Samara Joy, like she was the girl that won, she's a jazz singer, 23 years old. She won Best New Artist. I think her name's Samara Joy. Let me check. It's Samara, Samara Joy. She won Best New Artist and she also won something else, but I went and checked her out. I had never heard of her. Saw that she won a Grammy. Went and listened. She only got one album out. Yo, go listen to this album. 23 years old. She sounds like an opera singer, but she's singing jazz. You ain't never heard no shit like this, man. And I'm like, damn. I was so impressed. I'm such a big fan now. And I immediately felt bad because she's new, right? But I felt bad because I had never heard of her. Even though she's new, there are many, many other artists that are just like her, very talented in a genre outside of typical black culture, and most black people have never heard of. We got to show these people support. Like I said, they deserve the support. And when you got people that are this talented among us, we got to make sure. I guarantee you she ain't touching no type of paper like how these rappers and these other people touching. You know what I'm saying? People that are this talented, they need to be touching big paper too. So they should be able to go on tour, pop up in the city, and sell out. Sell out big auditoriums because they are that talented. And I'm all for that shit. Like, I'm all for art and culture. That's what I'm about, art and culture. So when you have those among us that are true artists and have real culture about them, those are the people I feel we should definitely push into, pump into, and buy into. I'm all for that type shit. And I think it's not fair in a lot of ways, or I think they deserve better. And it's up to us as black people to grow and expand our horizons and dig into some of these other genres, man. even Afro beats. There's a lot of people getting into Afro beats. That's a good first step. But go on even over into the jazz and the classical and a lot of the instrumentals. Like I'm into a lot of the jazz instrumentals and the instrumental stuff where it may not even be any vocal artists on the songs. I play this shit all day. You know what I'm saying? I play it when I'm being productive because I don't need all this noise in my ear while I'm trying to be productive. I need to hear myself think. I need to hear my own thoughts. I need to be able to articulate what I'm thinking. I can't do that if I got all this other shit going on. So I play a lot of instrumental type jazz and classical music while I'm being productive, and I stumble up on a whole lot of shit. But yes, we got to do better, people. We got to tap into some. It's more shit out here than NBA YoungBoy. God damn. If these governing agencies and these politicians and all these people who are pushing for climate change and a reduction of our carbon footprint, if they were really concerned and they were really serious, why are they and all of their friends, all of their politician friends, flying around in these private jets? Now, several people have brought this up. They've mentioned it. I've even seen someone ask Bill Gates, how do you justify flying around in a private jet when you're telling everybody else we need to be more conscious about our carbon footprint? And he made some BS statement about, I got all these carbon capture initiatives out and I invest in, clean energy. So I balance out, my carbon footprint is net zero. That's his excuse. But if they were serious, this is low hanging fruit in a lot of ways because they could easily fly commercial. And the private, I started looking at actually how much CO2 these things release and how much fuel they burn. And I was shocked to know that the private jet burns twice as much fuel as the commercial jet. The commercial jet actually has a whole lot of people on it, but the private jet still burns twice as much fuel. But this is interesting to me because this lets me know y'all not serious, man. This is just, for show, because y'all not willing to inconvenience yourselves in any way. So why are you going to inconvenience me? My little car is putting out a mere fraction of a fraction of a fraction of a fraction compared to your private jet. So you fix your shit, and maybe I'll think about fixing my shit, but I'm still not getting rid of my gas powered engine, what y'all talking about. But check this out. A typical private jet burns around 5,000 gallons of fuel per hour. 5,000 gallons of fuel per hour. This is equivalent to about 400 cars, right? And it says the average commercial jet burns about half that much. So 5,000 gallons per hour, which is equivalent to 400 cars. That sounds like a lot to me. A private jet can emit 2 tons of carbon dioxide in an hour. 2 tons, which is equivalent to a few months of an average person's greenhouse gas emissions in the European Union. Now we're saying a few months. We're talking about 1 hour. Most flights are going to be at least 2 to 3 hours. So in a typical round trip, now mind you got 2-3 hours going, you got 2-3 hours come back. You're talking about easily a year. So one trip in your private jet is worth a year of an average person's emissions from their house. Now we're talking about not just one person. We're talking about, first of all, you're making several trips. You're making probably, a couple hundred trips a year, these politicians. And it's you and all your politician friends. Let's not mention all the celebrities and the musicians. Let's not mention there are a lot of people who are flying. The businessmen, you know what I'm saying? That are flying in private jets. Again, that's low hanging fruit because they could easily fly commercial. And I ain't trying to hate on your flying private, dog. That I understand that's a luxury that you've probably grown accustomed to. But guess what? I've grown accustomed to my luxuries too. So don't come over here with that shit. Now check this out. In talking about celebrities, They're saying last year, as of this article was released in August, but they were saying as of August 25th, 2022, Taylor Swift had topped the list. She had more than 170 flights, and that was from January through August, totaling up to 16 days in the air and 8,293 metric tons of CO2 emissions. 8,293 metric tons. That's equivalent to all the emissions from the energy used for over 1,000 homes in the U.S. per year. That is equivalent to all of the emissions from the energy used by 1,000 homes in the U.S. per year. This is one person. And she hadn't even finished the year out. That was through August. She still had another quarter to go. And she didn't use more emissions than 1,000 people. This one person. Now, mind you, she is just a small. You might not think that there are many people who flying in these private jets, but there are a lot of people who flying in these private jets, yo. It's an entire industry built around it. They building them. So it's not like it's one or two people. And then you got the hypocrisy here. So in Davos, where a lot of these people go to discuss climate change and climate initiatives, you know, Al Gore is there and all these people talking that shit. They took over 150 private jets to fight climate change.
How dare you?
Over 150. Mind you, I just said one person. We just said what? A private jet, 2 tons of carbon dioxide in an hour. So they flying all the way to Davos, and they've probably emitted over, you know, a couple people's emissions in a whole year. All of my emissions in a year, they just did it in one trip. And they got the nerve to go over there and talk about green energy and reducing the carbon footprint. This is what makes a lot of people upset. They call us climate change deniers. They some term they come up with, you know, supposedly far right people. I'm not far right. I'm just I got some sense. You know what I'm saying? I got a brain. But you know, they're calling people climate change deniers, and we can tell y'all full of shit. Cause if y'all was really concerned and as scared as y'all say, oh man, we got to do something. Y'all will be trying to do something, which y'all ain't. So exit stage left, leave me, my gas powered car alone. Yes, we're probably emitting, you know, we probably have some emissions, but it's not contributing to global warming as you want the world to believe. Cut it.
My name Kodak Black, but when you see me, I'm white.
Y'all ready for some news? Here we go. Dinosaurs never existed. The whole thing was made up, and it was pushed through Hollywood, media, and propaganda onto the people. And to this day, they still been telling us this same lie about dinosaurs. Now, in order to understand this statement, you got to understand the background of how all of this came about. Before the 19th century, no one had ever heard of a dinosaur. Nobody had ever seen any dinosaur fossils. Nobody had ever, if you go into the ancient civilizations, nobody ever mentioned anything about a dinosaur. Nobody ever believed dinosaurs existed until the 19th century, which is very, very late in the game. All right. So what happened in the 19th century? You got to understand, this is when the whole evolutionist theory came about. This is when they started talking about evolution and how we all got here from something else, which is another load of crap, right? So these evolutionists, they needed a way to explain how animals went from sea animals, because, you know, they're saying that animals started in the ocean. So they needed a way to explain how animals went from sea animals to land-dwelling reptiles, which then evolved to birds and mammals. And they had a critical missing link in there. Insert the dinosaurs, right? Now, check this out. In 1842, there was this guy named Richard Owen. He's a member of the Royal Society. He was this high-ranking museum official. He coined the phrase dinosaur, right? 1842, he hypothesized about this ancient animal that existed prior to humans. At the time that he hypothesized about these dinosaurs existed, he had never seen a dinosaur. Nothing existed that would tell you that this was actually a fact. This is something he hypothesized. Conveniently, 12 years later, someone went and found the first dinosaur fossils that proved this hypothesis to be true. Very convenient, right? Now, what you got to understand is when they found these first dinosaur fossils that proved, hey, yeah, these dinosaurs actually existed, they found a few teeth. And from these teeth, they reconstructed an entire dinosaur. Till this day, that is in large how this works, right? Most people think when they go in the museum and they see the dinosaur skeleton, that's what they actually, that's the dinosaur. What you got to understand is, first of all, those are not real bones. Those are supposedly recreations of the real fossils that they keep in a thick vault, hidden, locked up, where no one can access them except high-ranking museum officials and research officials. No independent researchers can access dinosaur fossils to evaluate them. Now, understand what that means in terms of science, right? If science is to be upheld and if it's really legit, then independent researchers should be able to evaluate the legitimacy of the claim. Well, when it comes to dinosaur fossils, no independent researcher has ever seen or held dinosaur fossils. They're all locked up behind a vault, just like the original holy texts in the Vatican, right? So that right there already major red flag. But what you see in the museum is supposedly a recreation of what they keep in the vault. And then what they keep in the vault is, or supposedly what they have is a small fraction of what you see in the museum. So you see the full dinosaur when in reality, all they found was a few bones. And from those bones, they created this whole dinosaur. And just like with the teeth, a lot of times it's impossible to create these very detailed, these very exquisite creatures from what they found. Also understand that the mass majority of supposed dinosaur fossils that were found have been proven to be fakes, frauds. The other thing you have to understand is that all of these supposed dinosaur fossils, they're always found by researchers, paleontologists, museum workers, scientists, and professors. They're never found by regular people like miners, construction workers, people who are doing farming, people who dig in the soil. No regular people ever find these bones. It's always people who have a vested interest in dinosaurs. It's always some paleontologist going out and finding the dinosaur fossils, which also leads to more questions, and the likelihood of that happening is just very, very slim. Again, nobody ever found dinosaur fossils before the 19th century. How is that? If millions of these dinosaurs roamed the earth prior to humans, we should be finding them all over the place. As a little sidebar, this whole notion of fossil fuels is also bogus. There are no fossil fuels. This oil and gas does not come from decomposing fossils. That is ridiculous. We've been burning oil and gas for over 100 years and ain't no sign of slowing up. We got all this oil still in the ground, and we're saying that all this has come from organic decomposed matter. Is bogus. The whole notion of fossil fuels is to create scarcity, right? They're creating scarcity because scarcity creates value. So no, there's no fossil fuels. But anyway, all of these fossils are being found by people who want dinosaurs to exist, who have a vested interest in dinosaurs being a thing. Just so that you know how valuable this industry is, there's a dinosaur fossil that was sold for over $12 million, right? So this is a big business. And, there's pressure for these museums to come up with exhibits and things that drive tourism and traffic. And a lot of these people, they go out and they find things. Zygon Dino Ocean Art Company Limited is a company that specializes in making artificial dinosaur bones. They make them look antiquated. They use mold and cast, and they make dinosaur fossils and send them to museums all over the world. They're saying 62% of their production goes to American and European markets. They send them to these museums, and you walk in and look at them and think they're real dinosaurs when they're just plastic and they were made in a factory. That is this industry. That is the whole industry that we're talking about when it comes to dinosaurs. These folks be lying. What do I keep telling you? You're going to believe me one day. I'm at the point now where I feel like these celebrities, these entertainers need to just shut up and dribble, right? So that's the statement they make. I'm not just going to shut up and dribble. I'm not just going to be silent and not address the issues that are going on in the community. But I'm at the point now where I feel like they need to. A lot of times they do more damage than good. They do more detriment. When they step out, right, and they take these stances and they're, I'm the big hero, only to then turn around and retract their statements and apologize to say, I am sorry, I was wrong. They're doing more damage to our effort and our cause when they turn around and say, I apologize, because now they're admitting to doing something wrong. They're setting a precedence to say, hey, what I just did in calling out this lie or this injustice, that is something that is wrong and something that I shouldn't do. But subconsciously, they're saying that this is something that no one should do, right? So then that discourages other people from saying anything about it. And overall, it discourages the whole conversation overall. So when someone like Kyrie steps out and takes this claim about, Jews and this, that, and the third, and then when they take some money out of his pocket, he backpedals and sends out the apology and then now you're doing more detriment to the cause than you are doing good. Because you just set a new precedence that you saying what you said is wrong. And people shouldn't do that, or people shouldn't say that. That's how the subconscious mind is going to receive that in a lot of cases. Now, some people may argue, well, by him saying it, it lets a lot of other people who were thinking it know that they're not alone and that, more people know. Now the conversation is, being had more. But really, the conversation is already being had. That's how he know about it, because the conversation is already being had. So you're just coming out publicly to the world and saying what I did was wrong and I shouldn't have done it. So you're setting the precedence of doing wrong. I think that does more harm to us than good in whatever effort we have. And many people have done it. It's just not him. Even Kanye, he started out, but then he started tucking his tail a little bit. You got to know that these people going to touch your money as soon as you open your mouth. Don't open your mouth if you're not willing to lose everything and go back to zero. Because the first thing they're going to do is touch your pockets. So when you open your big mouth, already know that by me opening my mouth, they're going to take my money. How do you not know that? I know it. So when you then retract after they start pulling your endorsements. When you start backpedaling and retracting and saying, we apologize, I was wrong, that's doing more harm than good for our cause. I would rather you just shut up and dribble the ball. Shut up and sing your song. If you're not going to be willing to go all the way. That's my take on it. Thank y'all for tuning in to another episode of Culture and Consciousness. Catch us next Wednesday for your source of independent media.